Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome. We're just delighted to have you today on Monday, Thursday, the 9th of April 2020 for today's edition of Daily Connections. This is Sinika Wah with your Clear Next Step, and the whole purpose of our getting together is so that we can have, even in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic that has been really disruptive on a lot of us, the idea is that we can have this daily connection, this opportunity to get together, to have conversation, to engage in topics that are relevant to all of us, to have some consistency in our days, something reliable that's there every single day amidst all the things that are changing. And to collaborate one with another so that we can continue to build good relationships. So that's part of your Clear Next Steps mission, to help us all have better work days so that we can have better weekends and we can spend our free time in building better communities. So we had conducted a poll. Thank you for those of you who are just joining in. We're glad to have you. We conducted a poll a couple of days ago with some topics that I was anticipating to cover, and I was just looking for feedback on what was most important and most relevant to you, and I committed that I would hit those ones first. So yesterday we had hit one on lifting someone's spirits when they're not nearby. And this one is similar, but it's really talking about team morale. What if you've got a team of people, and however we decide to define team, for at least part of this conversation, I'll use a work team, but it's defining a team and thinking about that team. How do you lift the team's spirits? Specifically, how do you build team morale when teams are dispersed, right? The teams are not together. They're not in the same place, and when teams are not in the same place, and honestly right now we are all experiencing a bit of stress. So how do you build teams morale when teams are dispersed and when they're stressed? So as I started working on this, the things that struck me were a series of truths, and I didn't, as I started making my list here, I didn't even number them, and now I look and it's kind of a long list to keep track of, but let me share some truths that I think are going to help us figure out how to build morale. One of the truths is, at this moment, April 2020, this time is hard in an unprecedented way. That is a truth. We've never experienced anything like this, and people are experiencing stress in a way that they have never experienced before. That is a truth. A second truth is, because of the reality of COVID-19, bringing the team together cannot happen physically. So when you think about building team morale and bringing a team together physically, we can't do that right now, which in many cases is part of the problem. Another truth is, your team, however you define team, is not all in the same place emotionally, just as they're not in the same place physically. There is truth there, and even if for one fleeting moment some of them are in the same place emotionally, we're all bouncing back and forth from emotion to emotion multiple times during the course of the day. So even if by some chance at 3:12 you and I happen to be in the same place emotionally, by 3:14 one or the other of us is going to be someplace else. So the team is not all in the same place emotionally. So building the team, it's something you got to be really careful of. Here's another truth: the groundwork that you laid before this moment has a lot to do with how the team feels right now. And that the unfortunate part is that we can't go back and undo things that have happened before now. But the good part is, if you have been intentional, if you have been deliberate, if you have been careful in your relationships with your team, to let them know that you care, to let them know that you're here, to let them know that that you have a shared mission that you are striving towards, that will pay off in the long run. Truth: lighthearted fun has a time and a place. And the alternate truth is that some people struggle with levity when the world feels so heavy. Levity is fun. There is a moment for kicking back and for smiling and for having fun, and you have to be aware of the truth that some people will be really sensitive to it. How can I possibly have fun when I just feel like crying? Truth: things are different now than they were 3 weeks ago, and they keep changing. Followed by truth: things are uncertain right now, and there's no clear end in sight. No one can tell us with great certitude exactly when we get to go back to normal or what normal is going to look like. And it keeps changing on a daily basis, right? So now we've got change and uncertainty, which brings me to the next truth, which is change and uncertainty are two things that cause a whole lot of us a whole lot of discomfort. Truth, and there are some of us who need to hear this more than others, it is not your personal responsibility to do it all, to fix it all, to own it all, and to make everyone feel all better. That is not your personal burden to bear. You can't. No one of us could. You have things that are your responsibility. You have things that you do own and that you do need to be accountable for. But it is not your responsibility to fix it all, own it all, be responsible for it all, let it all sit on your shoulders, or make everyone feel all better. Truth. No one can help everybody, but everyone can help somebody. Truth. What worked before to build your team morale won't work exactly the same way right now. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because you can't do it exactly the same way doesn't mean you can't use what you've done before to inspire you or to serve as a launching pad or to serve as a base point for something that you can do today. Truth. We choose our own attitudes. I cannot choose your attitude for you. You cannot choose mine for me. We choose our own attitudes. Truth. Temporary relief is better than no relief. So that was the series of truths as I was starting to figure out, well, what do we offer? What suggestions can I offer to help people build team morale when teams are dispersed and stressed? And I think when you stop and realize those truths and that everything else that I'm about to say is couched in those truths, I think it will help give you some tactical ideas. So here are some tasks you could do. You could, because we know we can't fix everything for everybody, you could pick one person that you know needs a lift, and then listen to yesterday's episode and actively lift them up using some tips from yesterday. You could consider the person or persons that you want to connect with and try some of the phrases that I'm going to offer. It's just some offer of phrases to think about. I'm thinking about you. I imagine this is hard for you. I've noticed in our last couple of calls you seemed, I'm here for you. I'd like to help you. How can I help you? What's one thing weighing you down right now? And how can I help lift it? Can I share something with you that I thought was funny? I had a bright spot today. May I share it with you? So listen to each one of those phrases or play them back later when this is available as a podcast, and you can watch it on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see this again, and you'll have the posts on our blog at yourclearnextstep.com. At our blog, there'll be this date, and those words will all be there, and you can go back through them. But look at and think about and listen to those words in your head. They are words that lift spirits by telling someone else that they matter. They're telling someone else that there is, that someone else cares. And a lot of us right now, a lot of the stress is happening because people are disparate. They're dispersed. They're all over the place, and they're feeling lonely, and they're feeling like they're the only ones going through whatever they're going through. So all of those thoughts all of those phrases are phrases you can use to connect with one person and help build that one person up. What I think we can do is when we can build that one person up, we can then be a team of two, building someone else up and building others, and allow it to be like in at Christmas candlelight service in a church, right? The church is totally dark except for the one Christ candle, and someone leans it over and lights someone else's candle. And then from there, people keep lighting and lighting, and of course you pass the unlit candle, not the lit, right? You keep the flame up, right? But you dip the unlit candle, and then the light spreads, and before you realize it, as we've shared and these connections, we've all lifted, right? The whole room is brighter. I think that's what's going to happen when we build morale. We start with one, and then together we can get the next one, and together the next one, and the next ones, and the next ones, and we can cascade that way. So does that mean I don't think we can talk to teams? No, it absolutely doesn't mean that. I think we can do team morale building as well. And I think when you're talking to teams, we need to be fully aware of a couple other realities. That when we're talking to teams, we need to be able to position those truths that I shared in a way that the team can hear. So, for example, if you're talking to a team group or sending out a team message, you might say something like, things are different right now, and here's what's not changing. Right? There's so much upheaval, so much that is changing. So much is changing, yes, and here's something rock solid that you can count on. Things are really different right now, but our mission has not changed. Things are really different right now, but my commitment to you has not changed. You can do the same thing with uncertainty. Things are really, really fuzzy right now. Things are gray. Things are uncertain. That's true. But here's what's solid. Here's what you can count on. Here's what I know. Here's what I know is true for the next 36 hours, or what I know is true for the next 30 days. When you're talking to a group, you can use the statement, there is pressure, but here's Here's when or where we can lighten up. Yeah, you're right, you guys. We are under a lot of pressure right now. I know, I imagine those workplaces that are understaffed right now because only those with critical designation are staying in the workplace and others are not working, and the volume of work is still really, really high, and that's a lot of pressure. And I think about those in the medical fields and on the front lines who are under that constant pressure. And I think some statement of there is pressure. Yes. Oh my gosh, this hurts. This is heavy. And here's a lighter moment. At 2:00 this afternoon, you get to take a nap. At tomorrow, we get an early afternoon out. Or yes, you're working 3 20s in a row, and then you're going to have 2 where you don't have to work. Something where you can specify, we are in this pressure, but here's a lighter moment. We already had a holiday scheduled for Monday or for Friday or whatever it happened to be. But something about we're in, there is pressure, but here's a moment where it's going to light up, or it's going to light up for all of us because we're going to take a 15-minute break and we're just going to do fun stuff for 15 minutes. There's also a truth that you can say to the group that says moments of levity, these moments of fun, the 15 minutes of jokes or whatever, they're not going to change our circumstance, but we can choose to let them brighten the moment. We can choose to let them brighten our attitudes in the moment. I think if you try and build the team morale and say our circumstance is going to change, I think we're making false promises, and I think we're setting ourselves up in ways that are counterproductive. I think instead, if we say, yeah, you know what, this really does stink. This is pretty rotten right now. What if we set that aside for a minute and enjoyed something lighter, and I've got, tactical things, group happy hours, group sunny moments, fun Slack channels, a 3 p.m. post of the day that's cute animals, icebreakers, movie watching together, problem solving together, shared service project. There are things that we can do together to take our minds off what's going on, and I think those are all things that can build us up. But I think those will build team morale better once we acknowledge the truths of the situation. So those are my opening remarks for this day. Ideas on how to build team morale when the team is dispersed and stressed.